Well, it is cold in London, hence the setup, so bear with me. Um, 2026 is gonna be an interesting year for many creatives, myself included. I think the industry has seen a massive shift with holding companies merging and the loss of some well-known creative agencies. The use of AI tools as well as LLMs have sadly and quickly become a creative standard with high and often unrealistic expectations from agencies. And I think this has resulted in huge numbers of software tools on the market vying for your attention, or shall I say, subscription. So many creatives are now taking on new skill sets with the aim of staying relevant and still being able to add value, which leads me into the topic about being multidisciplined. I pride myself on being a creative that wears many hats. And I think it's important to learn and to constantly evolve by using new skill sets and tools to problem solve better, concept better, and also ideate better. Many still believe that if you wear many creative hats, you can't really be good at any one thing. I've been working in the advertising and marketing industry as a creative for over 20 years. I know, right? And I started out as a graphic designer, doing mostly print and digital work. And over time, I evolved into an art director with design, photography, film, and videography experience. Now, currently, I run my solo creative studio, helping existing agencies as a creative resource and also working with businesses and brands to stand out in their markets. There are loads of creatives out there who do more than one thing. And there's always been this trend, I feel, that seems to be increasing of late, making this into a problem. You know, you should niche down, find what you're good at and stick to it. They'll label you a generalist, a jack of all trades, which I think is just a polite way of saying, you're okay. And I'm not really a fan of that narrative. You've probably heard the saying, a jack of all trades is a master of none. And many love using that line to shut down multi-skilled creatives. What I learned some years ago now was that it was an incomplete quote. And the full quote is, the version that really matters is, a jack of all trades is a master of none, but often better than a master of one. And as a creative, that last part to me is everything. But to play devil's advocate, to be fair, there are downsides to being a multidisciplined creative. There are real trade-offs, perception issues, workload issues, and focus issues. So I thought I would use my creative background experience as an example. So let's begin with some design thoughts. One downside is trend exposure. If you're not living in design tools every day, typography, grids, UI patterns, brand systems, you can fall behind on the latest looks and methods. Another downside is context switching. If you're designing one day, shooting the next, editing video the day after that, your brain pays a tax every time you have to switch gears. And then there's perception. Some clients come to you because you offer a particular service and can find the offer of other creative services a bit concerning or confusing. It can appear as though you aren't skilled enough in the one area that is important to them. Not because it's true, but it may feel like they aren't getting the value for their money because your focus may shift to other creative areas. And lastly, design has this thing where you can refine forever. And if you're like me, then you're never really truly satisfied with what you create. and can find yourself going down this rabbit hole of constant refinement and constant polishing of work. And when you wear many hats, you often don't have the luxury of that obsessive refinement. One of the many challenges I faced as an art director is the tension between the vision and execution. To me, at the heart, it is about the big picture. That could be the concept, the story, the meaning, or even the tone. However, when you're also the designer, a camera operator, or editor, you're constantly pulled back into the details. You can become too close to work and need to step back and ask, is this actually communicating the idea? Another challenge is decision fatigue. You're making the call on everything from the concept, the mood, the visual language, the framing, the edit pacing. All these things can burn you out if you're not careful. It can make delegation harder because you know how to do most of it yourself. You can find it hard to relinquish control, so you end up doing it all, and that could mean a lack of focus. From a photography perspective, the downside here is that your style usually comes from volume and repetition of constant shooting. If you're not shooting consistently, it can take longer to develop a signature look. Not because of a lack of talent, but because you're having to split your time. And any lost time is time you could be using to really find your craft. There's also gear as well as craft upkeep. Photography has its own world of lighting, technique, trends, post-production, and software. If you're dividing your attention, you might not be as current as someone who, say, shoots all day, every day. And there's also perception confusion there too. People might struggle with how you are labeled. Are you a photographer who designs, or are you a designer who shoots photography? Sometimes people will try to force you into a pigeonhole so that they can make a clear distinction of who you are to themselves and to other people. And then there's videography. Video is time hungry. Shooting takes time. Editing takes even more time. Sound takes time. Color takes time. The software and hardware changes constantly. There's new codecs, cameras, workflows, AI tools, new platforms. This in itself can be overwhelming with all the multiple choices out there. If you're not in it regularly, your speed and muscle memory can drop. If these are all the downsides, why am I still arguing that multidisciplinary creatives can be stronger? Well, because now we get into the advantages, and this is the part that's often ignored. Firstly, you see the whole system, the bigger picture. A specialist might be brilliant at one stage of a process, and that in itself is valuable. But when you understand multiple disciplines, you can connect the dots. You can design with the shoot in mind, you can shoot with the edit in mind, and you can art direct with the style or brand system in mind. And that doesn't scream generalist to me. To me, that's a full circle creative thinking and problem solving approach. You lose less in translation. When the designer, director, photographer, and editor are all separate, ideas can get diluted and can be swayed and influenced for worse as well as for better. But if you understand each discipline, you are able to brief better, you can communicate clearer, and you can protect the core concept because you understand the end to end. You become a translator between disciplines. Designers understand you, video editors trust you, brand strategists can get on board, and all because you can speak a bit of everyone's language, which is so important. You're adaptable. And in an industry that has seen a rapid growth with a lot of AI influences and new softwares on the market, platforms changing, formats changing, even ways of working changing almost overnight, client expectations have also changed. In 2026 and beyond, being malleable and having the adaptability is not an option, it's a must. And I think the ability to learn fast and apply knowledge across disciplines is a serious competitive advantage. You're not just a master of tools, but can become a master of ideas. I believe being a multidisciplined creative means you are a better problem solver and a better creator of ideas. Because when you're not obsessed with one tool or a way of working, you obsess over what actually matters. Over time, you start making sharper creative decisions because you can see a project from many perspectives, many angles. So a logo design isn't just a logo design anymore. You've thought about how it works on packaging, in motion, or short form edit. You're able to make more thoughtful, sustainable choices. When you understand and prove you can contribute across multiple touch points, clients tend to trust you a whole lot more. You move beyond just a creative with a niche into a creative with greater value. They see you as someone who can guide their brand, deliver on a vision, and broaden ideas from a creative solution. That trust leads to more freedom, more work, and better projects. So when people throw that quote at you, a jack of all trades is a master of none, I want you to really remember the full version. But oftentimes better than a master of one. Because being multidisciplined doesn't mean you lack depth. It doesn't mean you don't care or give 100% in any given format. It means your depth sits across problem solving and execution. It means you can see around corners, and it means you give far more greater value, especially when today's clients appear more time poor, are generally more cost sensitive, and increasingly more option hungry. So here's what I'll say if you want to try on another creative hat. Don't let anyone shame you into shrinking. Yes, be honest about your particular trade-offs. Yes, build your systems so you don't burn out or hit a wall. And yes, keep sharpening your craft. Be brave and have fun during the process. The future belongs to creatives who can think conceptually, communicate clearly, and execute across multiple mediums. If you're that kind of creative or want to be, you're not behind. I think you're ahead.